Welcome to the home for the Tentative Yogi. My name is Laura and I've taught yoga for 30 years, and one of my most favorite things to do is to help people who are hesitant around yoga, maybe have tried yoga and didn't feel like it was for them, or they got injured or something, they learned too quickly, to help you feel comfortable with yoga. So here we go very slowly and build on poses. On this channel, you're going to find all sorts of beginner tutorials. And if you want a whole beginner yoga series, definitely check below for a link to my beginner yoga series. So in today's video, we are going to look at child's pose. So child's pose is theoretically the most comfortable position for the human body. It's supposed to be fetal position, right? It looks like this if you're not familiar with it. But in order to do this comfortably, your ankles need to be open, your knees need to be open, your hips need to be open. There's a lot of things riding on the comfort in this pose, right? So what I want to do is share with you a bevy of variations for this pose so that you can find the one that fits your body type and helps you feel good. What you want to feel in this pose is that your back can relax, you can kind of sink into it, and you feel really safe and secure. One of the reasons this is such a calming pose is it actually protects all of your kill zones, if you will, which is the soft tissue on the front of your body. So if you realize that deep down we are still primal beings, on a very primal level, we are very protective of those kill zones, which is your throat and all of the soft tissue on the front of the body where your vital organs are. So when we're in this position on a really deep, profound level, we're able to totally relax. Now, the other thing is you can't really breathe forward because your legs are in the way. So it forces the breath into the back body, and back body breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, which is a stimulant for the relaxation response. So for lots of reasons, this is a great pose, but only if you can get into it comfortably. So that is a crucial aspect to all of us. So what I want to do is show you a few different variations so you can play with it for yourself and find the one that resonates with your body and makes you feel good. Okay, so let's start out first doing a quick tutorial on a true child's pose. So in child's pose, you don't actually want to have a really long spine. So a lot of people go into child's pose with this really extended spine, but that is stimulating. We want to get into a calming place. So in order to do that, you want to draw the belly in and round up and go into your pose rounding. And I'll tell you, you'll start to feel this stretch across the lower back. It's heavenly. All the way down, and be really well rounded in child's pose. The other thing is a lot of people will do child's pose with the arms overhead. Now, I do teach a variation of this called extended child's where, I have people have their hips up and get really long, but it's meant to be a warm up for the body, right? I'm stretching through the shoulders. When we're doing full child's pose, when your arms are up ahead, it's actually stimulating energetically because you're reaching with those arms. We want to get very steady and feel very present in this pose on all levels. So when you're trying to really relax, bring your hands back by your feet. Let your shoulder blades release apart. So your back is rounded, hands are back by your feet. That doesn't mean that arms overhead is never appropriate. This might feel good near the beginning of your practice when you are starting to warm up and you want to be stimulating your body and getting yourself a little bit more energized. So you just want to be aware of these subtleties so that you can find what works for you. Now let's start talking about some variations if you can't get into this rounded position. First of all, one of the main things that can get in the way is flesh, right? If you have a belly or a large chest, then it can feel super claustrophobic to be in this pose. So one of the first things you can do is just separate your knees a little bit so it gives room for the belly. Now, having said that, it also makes it super easy to be in that extended spine position. So if you are separating your feet, you need to be super intentional to draw the belly in and round the spine to get into that rounded position. Then, if you can't get your hips back on your heels, one thing you can do is take a blanket and bring it up behind your knees, and then that helps you so that you're resting. You're not just dangling from the knees. You want yourself resting on something, and you can do 2 or 3. I wouldn't do 3. You could do 2 blankets. If you're doing 3 blankets, then you need to modify something else, which I'll show you in a moment. If you can't get your head all the way down, you can give yourself a pillow. And in fact, to this day, sometimes I do this. If I'm just feeling really tight and getting all the way down affects my breath, or I just feel uncomfortable, I'll bring a blanket up and give myself a pillow. And you can use 2 blankets here. I have some students who use a block. Just play with it and see what feels good for you. Now, if none of that feels good, and I'm telling you, I have students more than not, I will also add, who look like this in child's pose, and that's exactly how they get into it, right? So uncomfortable. If that's you, then shift completely. Come down onto your back and bring your knees up into your chest and give them a hug and just let your back relax. This is child's pose, right? We're using gravity differently, of course, so it does change it a little bit, but you're still getting the fetal position. You can separate your knees and pull them in, but it still feels really good. And that being said, you can also do it sitting. Separate your knees a little bit, grab your wrists, and just round down. This one feels really good too. Now I just want to add one more variation that you might want to try. I have a couple of students who love to do it this way, and they do it every time we do child's pose. They just have a pile of blankets. This is where a bolster would come in handy. If you've seen my props video, you know that bolsters are not my favorite prop for a variety of reasons, but this is where I would use a bolster. I prefer, though, a stack of blankets because they're more malleable. But this is 3 blankets. That's a lot of blankets. If you don't have 3 blankets, then a bolster might be handy. And you just put the blankets between your knees and come down and rest. Now, you might even need 4 blankets because what you want is you want your hips lower than your heart. So if you're coming into it and you're looking like this, you need to get even higher, right? So you want to be able to get your hips down. So relaxing. All right, so I encourage you to find the variation that fits you the best, that helps you really relax. Pay attention. How do you feel? Do you feel totally supported? Do you feel like you can just soften and relax? So important to get the most out of this pose, which is all about deep, deep relaxation and safety. All right, if you enjoyed this video, I would love to hear if you would comment below your experience with child's pose, how it's been for you, if any of these variations are going to help you. And if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up and definitely subscribe to the video so you can follow along with all the tutorials that I will be releasing. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.